Hey everyone, my name is Rob Phelan. I'm a math and personal finance teacher in Maryland, and I'm the creator of the budgeting matrix activity that you're about to do in your class. This is based off of Dwight Eisenhower, so the President of the United States, and a statement he made where he said tasks are important or urgent. And he used this as a prioritization tool during World War II to try and essentially get the right task done in the right order and figure out what he needed to do, what he could delegate to others, what tasks didn't need to be done at all, and what ones could kind of go on the back burner for another day. Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, took this and turned it into a matrix. So a matrix being a 2x2 grid where he categorized tasks as being very important to not important, very urgent to not urgent. And in doing that, it allowed you to figure out where to dedicate your time in the same way that Eisenhower had thought of during World War II. Now, my theory is that we can take the same concept and apply it to our budget because our money, like our time, is not an endless supply of stuff. We've got a limited supply of money and we need to figure out how to delegate it, particularly as we are beginning our financial journeys and there may not be as much money going around. So the task that you have has 3 components to it. You have got 100 different items. So there are 2 sheets with different items on it. There's 100 total. In your groups or on your own, you're going to cut out each of those so you have the individual ones all cut out and ready to go. You've also got a matrix document. Now, yours may look a little bit bigger than mine. You may have a full sheet of chart paper, or you may be doing this on a whiteboard. Whatever you have, it just needs to be divided up into 4 sections, and you've got it ranked on urgency and importance. So when you think about your money and where things can go, if something is urgent, it needs to be done right now. So that's what urgency means, that there's a time sensitivity to it. It needs to be done very soon. Important, meaning that it's something that is kind of verging on need, or it's really going to drive your life forward. It's going to improve your quality of life. Not important, less so. So when we look at our matrix, some examples of things that are urgent and important would be things like your core needs. So food, transportation, housing, clothing, those are the ones that are really going to come into this category. So making a mortgage payment, if you don't make it and you're potentially going to lose your house, that will become a high priority. So very important and time sensitive, very urgent item. When you move over to the urgent but not important, so we're kind of over here now, these are sort of your other bills. So things that if you don't pay them, maybe your credit score might drop, maybe you might get some calls, you might incur some interest, but it's not really driving your life forward or not. It's kind of part of the way your life has been inflated, but it is a little bit time sensitive. You do need to pay this soon. Things I like to think of here are things like hospital bills, where you've already had the treatment, it's done. Paying this thing is not going to improve your quality of life really that much, except maybe getting a collector off your back. So this one would fall into it needs to be paid, but it's not really that important to my financial goals, or it's not a true need. Then you move down to the bottom. So we're talking about the not urgent stuff. If it's not urgent and not important, this is sort of your frivolous wants. So these are the things that are really nice to have, but you could live without them and there's no time sensitivity to getting them. So a lot of the things that modern Americans buy fall into that category. So you're talking about you're going out to eat, you're treating yourself, those extra clothing items that maybe you get that aren't core essential items, that would fall all under this category. And then the final one is the most interesting one. This is the important but not urgent. These are the things that we can very easily push off, but we really shouldn't, because they're the ones that are going to drive us forward. This is actually the most essential quadrant in this. This is the one where you actually improve your quality of life. So important and urgent, you're keeping yourself alive. Important and not urgent are things like contributing to retirement, taking classes to increase your earning potential, things that are really going to help improve your quality of life, particularly in the long term. So as you're going through this activity, you've got your 100 items, and you are going to have to try and categorize them into one of the 4 quadrants. And the interesting thing about this activity is that there's no real right or wrong answer. There are some that we would argue belong in certain quadrants. I don't think you will get a lot of diverse opinion on it, but there are plenty of these that you might put in one quadrant and the person beside you will put in another one. So if you're doing this as part of a group, you'll have to try and figure out, why does everyone feel the way they do about where this item belongs? and then see if you can find a place for it. If you're comparing as a class, you may notice that different groups have different items allocated different places. Totally normal, totally fine. Share your opinion about why you put it there and see if there's anything you can learn from the other groups that you hadn't thought of before. It's very interesting to see how different levels of socioeconomic status, different levels of stress, different family situations will all change where different items might fit in the matrix. So our needs and our wants are very different sometimes depending on what our current context is. So make sure this is a judgment-free zone. It's a very welcoming zone for different opinions and ideas. And I hope you enjoy the activity.